I never thought my own blood could turn a simple disagreement into a wildfire that nearly burned down everything we'd built. Growing up in the vast, sun-baked plains of West Texas, where the horizon stretches like a promise you can't quite trust, family was supposed to be the one unbreakable bond. Our ranch, Harlan Energy and Logistics, wasn't just a business, it was our legacy, passed down from my grandfather who struck oil in the Permian Basin back in the 50s. We hauled crude, managed pipelines, and navigated the tangled web of federal regulations that came with it. Environmental compliance, safety audits, all tied to Uncle Sam's purse strings. Lose that, and you're out in the cold, watching vultures circle your dreams.
I'm Sarah Harlan,
the quiet one in the family, the one who preferred crunching numbers over riding herd on cattle. For years, I'd been the designated compliance officer, handling the daily reports that kept our EPA certifications and federal contracts alive. It wasn't glamorous, no rodeo buckles or oil baron swagger, but it was vital. Our insurance policy, a hefty $150 million umbrella against spills, breaches, or God forbid, a regulatory shutdown, hinged on my encrypted remote access. I worked from our old family homestead on the outskirts of Midland, where the Wi-Fi was spotty, but the solitude let me focus. The setup was ironclad. My secure link fed real-time data to the feds and our insurers, ensuring we stayed in the green. One glitch, and we'd be flagged, potentially voiding coverage faster than a dust storm rolls in. Then Jake showed up. My cousin, fresh out of some fancy MBA program in Austin. All bravado and no bite. Uncle Roy, the CEO and family patriarch, had handed him the reins as interim operations chief after Dad retired. Jake was 28, full of that millennial fire, talking disruption and lean ops like he'd invented the wheel. He sauntered into our weekly video call one dusty afternoon, his face filling the screen from the main office in Odessa, wearing a crisp button-down that screamed, "Trying too hard." "Sarah," he said, his voice laced with that condescending drawl he'd picked up in college, "we need to talk about your remote setup. It's outdated. Killin' efficiency." I leaned back in my creaky desk chair, the kind Grandpa had carved from mesquite wood, and felt a knot form in my gut. "Jake, it's not about efficiency. It's protocol. My access is the lifeline for our compliance logs.
Cut it.
And we risk everything: the feds, the insurance, our contracts with the DoD for fuel transport." He waved it off, his eyes glazing over like I'd recited poetry in a bar fight. "Come on.
'Cause
if you're that essential, prove it in the office. No more hiding out on the ranch. Where's centralism?" It wasn't a suggestion, it was an order, wrapped in family ties that suddenly felt like barbed wire.
I didn't argue, not then.
That's not how I operate. I screenshot the chat, timestamped it, and filed it away in a folder I called Family Fallback.
Dramatic?
Maybe. But in West Texas, you learn to prepare for droughts before the sky even clouds over. Jake didn't know, or care, that my remote node was mandated by our policy with Lone Star insurers. It was the only authorized channel for submitting those daily attestations, encrypted to hell and back to prevent hacks or data leaks.
Void that,
and we'd be exposed, legally and financially. The axe fell 2 days later, right in the middle of my routine upload. I was sipping black coffee, watching the sun climb over the pump jacks dotting our land, when my connection blinked out. Access revoked. Contact admin. My heart slammed against my ribs like a wild Mustang. No warning. No ticket, just gone. I checked the logs through a backup mirror I'd set up years ago, an old habit from dealing with unreliable rural internet. There it was, Jake's assistant, on his orders, had pulled the plug. Per Jake, terminate remote VPN for S. Harlan. No exceptions. I sat there, staring at the error code, feeling the weight of generations pressing down. This wasn't just about me. It was about the family empire. Without my feeds, the insurer's dashboard would go dark. Compliance alerts would stack up, and in 72 hours, we'd hit breach status under federal law, Title 40 of the CFR.
Clear as day.
But I didn't storm the office or call Uncle Roy in a rage. Instead, I documented.
Screenshots.
Emails. Even the original appointment letter from the insurers naming me the responsible party. I wasn't fighting with fists, I was building a case. Layer by layer. Like stacking adobe bricks against a coming storm. For the first 24 hours, silence reigned. No calls from Jake. No frantic texts from the team. I imagined him strutting around the Odessa headquarters, high-fiving the staff, thinking he'd streamlined us into the future. But out here on the ranch, with the wind whispering through the scrub brush, I knew better. The first red flag pinged my personal email, attestation incomplete, node inactive. The insurers had noticed. I archived it, added it to my dossier. By evening, a vendor query went unanswered, a routine check on our pipeline integrity reports. Unresolved, it could escalate to a DOT violation. Fine starting at $50,000 a pop. That night, as stars blanketed the sky like scattered diamonds, I couldn't sleep. Jake's words echoed. If you're that essential. He was family, but this felt like betrayal. Raw and personal. We'd grown up together, racing ATVs across the desert, sharing secrets under the big Texas moon. What had changed him? Ambition? Resentment? I pushed it down, focused on the facts. Legally, he couldn't just yank my access without board approval, our family bylaws. Drafted after Grandpa's era of wildcatting, required it for key roles. But Jake had skipped that, riding high on Uncle Roy's nepotism. Day 2 dawned hot and unrelenting. I monitored from afar, using public portals to glimpse the fallout. The system was unraveling. A missed safety patch for our tracking software left a vulnerability wide open. Hackers, maybe competitors, maybe foreign actors probed it. I saw the anomalous logins trickle in, IPs bouncing from Mexico to Eastern Europe. Nothing major yet, but enough to trigger alarms if anyone was watching. No one was. Jake hadn't reassigned my duties. He probably didn't even understand them. I reached out to an old contact at the insurers, not to tattle, but to request a copy of our policy docs. Just double-checking, I said casually. She emailed them over. No questions asked. More bricks for my wall. The pressure built inside me, a mix of anger and sorrow. This was our family, Harlan's against the world. But Jake had turned it into Harlan's against each other. As the sun set, painting the horizon in fiery oranges, I wondered if he'd realized before it was too late. Or if I'd have to let the flames lick closer. The third day hit like a norther sweeping down from the panhandle, cold, unforgiving, and full of bite. I woke to the lowing of cattle in the distance, a reminder that our roots ran deeper than oil rigs and spreadsheets. But the digital storm was brewing fiercer. My mirror logs showed the exploit had deepened, a test injection into our logistics queue, rerouting a phantom shipment to a ghost terminal in New Mexico. It wasn't theft, not yet, but under federal law, it screamed potential compromise. The DOT and EPA would classify it as a reportable incident, mandating disclosure within 48 hours or facing penalties that could shutter us. I didn't panic. Panic is for amateurs. And I'd been safeguarding this family business since I was 25. fresh out of Texas Tech with a degree in environmental engineering. Instead, I expanded my folder, adding timelines, cross-referencing the revocation with the breach. Legally, Jake's move violated our internal governance. Section 5.2 of the Family Charter required dual sign-off for disrupting compliance roles. It was clear as a West Texas wellhead. He'd overstepped.
Driven by ego.
Not evidence. Uncle Roy finally called that afternoon. His voice, gravelly from years of barking orders on drilling sites, carried a hint of unease. "Sarah, darlin', what's this about your access being cut?" Jake said it was temporary, to get folks back in the office. I kept my tone even, like calming a spooked horse. "It's not temporary, Uncle. It's a shutdown. And without it, our attestations aren't flowing. We've got a vulnerability exposed now. Logs show unauthorized probes." He paused, the silence heavy with unspoken regret. "I'll talk to him. Family first, right?" But Jake didn't back down. He messaged me directly, "Stay out of it.
Sarah.
This is ops, not ranch hand stuff." The words stung, dredging up old wounds. Him always the golden boy. Me the overlooked cousin who fixed problems in the shadows. Our family drama ran deep. Grandpa had favored Uncle Roy's line, leaving Dad with scraps of land and resentment that simmered like underground methane. Jake inherited that entitlement, while I got the grit. By evening, the insurers escalated. A formal alert landed in the company inbox.
Copied to the board.
Policy at risk, missing heartbeat signals. I wasn't looped in officially, but my contact forwarded it. The clock was ticking, 96 hours to rectify or face suspension. I documented that too, feeling a pang of guilt. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about protecting what was ours. But the humanity in me wavered. Jake was family, flawed but blood. Maybe a lesson could come without total destruction. The quarterly investor call loomed the next morning. A virtual roundup with venture folks from Dallas, our insurers from Austin, and a Fed auditor on mute. I wasn't invited. Jake had scrubbed my name from the list, but I had a guest link from last year's setup.
Sloppy.
Like leaving a gate unlatched in Coyote Country. I joined incognito, camera off, heart pounding. Jake kicked off with his usual bluster. Slideshow flashing buzzwords like optimized workflows and centralized resilience. Uncle Roy nodded along, his weathered face strained. Then, the hammer dropped. Carla Ruiz from Lone Star Insurers interrupted, her voice steady as a judge's gavel. "This is a live alert. Our scans detected an anomaly in your pipeline tracking, a spoofed reroute confirmed as an exploit. Attestation chain broken 3 days prior. No reassignment of compliance officer." The call froze. Jake stammered.
"What?"
"We've had no internal flags. Must be a glitch." Uncle Roy's eyes widened, realization dawning like a bad sunrise. "Is this tied to Sarah's access?" Carla didn't flinch. "Precisely. Without the designated node's feeds. We've paused your policy. $150 million coverage suspended pending investigation." An investor from Houston leaned in, his drawl sharp. "Who authorized this mess? We're talking millions at stake." Silence. Then, the board's compliance chair, Aunt Lydia, Mom's sister, the family's legal hawk, chimed in. She'd received my packet through my attorney, not directly from me. Neutral ground. "I've got docs here, revocation logs. No protocol followed. Jake's order, via assistant, violates charter and policy terms." The air thickened with tension. Jake's face paled, sweat beading under the office lights. It was just a streamline. Sarah can work from here. But the damage was done. Carla added. This could qualify as negligent override under Texas Business Code Section 21. Federal ties make it worse. Possible fines from the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. I watched. A ghost in the machine. My chest tight with mixed emotions. This was drama at its rawest. Family bonds fraying under the weight of ambition. Uncle Roy looked betrayed. His voice cracking. Jake, what have you done? The call devolved into accusations. Investors demanding accountability. No one mentioned me by name yet, but the spotlight was shifting. After the call, I stepped outside, the Texas heat wrapping around me like an old blanket. The pump jacks bobbed rhythmically, a reminder of stability we'd nearly lost. My phone buzzed, Aunt Lydia. We need you. Sarah. Board session in an hour. I nodded to myself. Steeling for the confrontation. Not with vengeance, but with truth. Maybe this could end with healing, not just ashes. The emergency board huddle felt like a family reunion gone sour, tension thick as crude oil. Uncle Roy presided, his rancher's hands clasped tight. Jake sat there, defiant but diminished, while Aunt Lydia shared her screen, my evidence trail.
Leid bara.
This isn't just a mistake, she said. It's a breach of duty. Sarah's role is protected. Revoking it without board vote is illegal under our bylaws. Jake exploded. She's family, but she's holding us back. Remote work's a crutch. Uncle Roy silenced him with a glare.
Boy.
You don't know what you're talking about. That crutch keeps us legal. Carla, dialed in. Confirmed. Reinstate Sarah. Amend governance. And will provisionally restore coverage. Audit in 30 days. The vote was swift. Jake demoted to junior ops. His authority clipped. They turned to me. Sarah, we're sorry. Your position's secure. Reporting straight to the board now. I spoke softly, my voice carrying the weight of the land. I accept. But on terms, written protections for compliance roles, and a family mediator to sort this out. We're Harlans, we fix things together. It wasn't triumph, it was relief, laced with sorrow. Jake's eyes met mine on screen, a flicker of regret. Perhaps the lesson was sinking in, power without wisdom destroys what it touches. Reinstatement came swift as a summer thunderstorm. My access flickered back online within minutes of the board's nod. The familiar hum of the VPN connected, like an old friend returning from exile. Logs backfilled automatically, patching the digital wounds Jake had inflicted. But the real scars were deeper, etched into the family fabric. That evening, as I watched the sun dip below the horizon, turning the desert gold, I felt a quiet resolve. This wasn't over, it was a pivot toward something more humane. Uncle Roy drove out to the homestead the next day, his pickup kicking up dust on the gravel road. He stepped out,
Hat in hand.
looking every bit the patriarch burdened by his choices. Sarah, I owe you an apology. Should have reined in Jake sooner. We sat on the porch.
Sippinki said there.
The air scented with creosote bush. It's family, uncle. But we can't let ego trump the law, or each other. He nodded, eyes misty. Your grandpa built this on trust. We almost lost it, Jake called later, his voice stripped of bravado.
Sarah.
I screwed up. Thought I was fixin' things. The admission hung there, vulnerable. I could have lashed out, but instead,
Ishos grâce.
we all make mistakes.
Cuz.
But next time,
Talk first.
we're in this together. It was the start of mending, tentative, but real. The detective in me, always piecing together puzzles, saw the deeper mystery. What drove Jake's recklessness? Turns out, It was insecurity, rooted in family shadows. Dad's side had always felt sidelined, and Jake carried that chip. Over the next week, I drafted the new governance policy, not as a weapon, but a shield. Clause by clause, I wove in protections: no unilateral revocations without board and legal review, mandatory training on federal regs like the Clean Water Act and PHMSA rules. It was clear. Enforceable under Texas law, business organizations code demanding fiduciary duty. Aunt Lydia reviewed it, adding family-specific tweaks, annual mediations for disputes, to prevent drama from escalating. The insurers approved, restoring our policy with a nod to my contingency foresight. But the light lesson emerged in quiet moments. Jake shadowed me for a month, learning the ropes, not as punishment, but education. We drove out to a rig site one dawn, the air crisp, pump jacks silhouetted against the sky. "See that?" I said, pointing to the monitoring gear. "One lapse, and it all crumbles. But together, we stand strong." He listened, really listened, the arrogance melting away. As word spread through the company, whispers in the Odessa break room, texts among kin, the atmosphere shifted. Employees felt seen, valued beyond metrics. Our family dinners, once tense affairs,
softened.
At the next gathering, under string lights on the main ranch, Jake raised a glass. "To Sarah for saving us for my dumbass." Laughter rippled, healing the rifts. But beneath the surface, the psychological toll lingered. Nights found me reflecting on the drama, how close we'd come to ruin, how betrayal from within cuts deepest. Yet, in choosing humanity over vengeance, we'd unearthed strength. The West teaches resilience, storms pass, but roots endure. The audit arrived like clockwork, a team from Austin descending on our offices. I led the walkthrough, logs pristine, vulnerabilities patched. The lead auditor, a no-nonsense woman named Elena, pored over my evidence. "This could have been catastrophic," she said. "Your documentation saved millions." It was validation, but more importantly, a mirror to our growth. Jake, now humbled, contributed insights from the ops side. I learned the hard way: compliance ain't bureaucracy, it's survival.
Elena smiled faintly.
That's the lesson. In family biz, ego's the real hazard. We passed with flying colors. Policy solidified. In the aftermath, I took a solo ride across the ranch, horses' hooves thundering over hardpan. The wind carried whispers of Grandpa's wisdom. Families like oil, volatile, but priceless when refined. We'd refined ours through fire, emerging wiser. Months blurred into a rhythm of renewal. Harlan energy hummed with efficiency, but now laced with empathy. Jake stepped up, his demotion a catalyst for change. He organized team-building retreats in the Big Bend, where desert hikes fostered bonds beyond boardrooms. Sarah was right, he'd say, around campfires. Stars overhead. We're stronger united. The family drama evolved from tension to tales, cautionary stories shared with kin. A light lesson in humility. Legally, we fortified. New clauses in contracts echoed Texas statutes,
ensuring no repeat offenses.
Our insurers even praised the model, suggesting it for other Western firms navigating Fed regs. But the heart of it was personal. I mentored Jake, unveiling the psychological layers of our roles: stress of legacy, fear of failure. "It's not weakness to ask for help," I told him one afternoon in the office. Sunlight streaming through windows overlooking oil fields. He nodded, eyes earnest. "I get it now. Sorry for the pain." The unexpected consequence?
Growth.
Uncle Roy retired gracefully, passing the CEO baton to a joint council, me, Jake, Aunt Lydia. Power shared. Drama diffused. At our first meeting, laughter mingled with strategy, a far cry from the old power plays. One evening, as monsoon rains pattered on the tin roof, Jake confided, "That breach scared me straight. Thought I was invincible." I smiled softly. "We all did once. But family catches you when you fall, if you let 'em." The lesson landed gently. Revenge destroys. Redemption rebuilds. Our story rippled outward, inspiring local biz forums in Midland. From betrayal to brotherhood, I titled my talk, sharing anonymized details. Attendees nodded, relating to the human frailties beneath corporate veneers. In quiet moments, I pondered the detective thread, the uncovering of motives, the piecing of emotional puzzles. Jake's ambition masked vulnerability. My silence had hurt. Together, we'd solved the real mystery: how to forgive without forgetting. As harvest moons rose over the plains, peace settled. The ranch thrived, a testament to resilience. We'd turned shock into synergy, proving that, in the West, even the harshest storms yield fertile ground. A year on, the scars had faded to stories told with wry smiles. Harlan Energy expanded, new green initiatives, blending oil with solar, compliant under evolving Fed laws. Jake led the charge, his transformation complete. "Couldn't have done it without you, Sarah," he said at our anniversary barbecue, smoke from the pit wafting under live oaks. The family gathered, kids chasing fireflies, elders swapping yarns. Uncle Roy pulled me aside. "You saved more than the business. You saved us." Tears welled, but joy prevailed. The light lesson echoed. In revenge's shadow lies redemption's light. Choose wisely. Legally unassailable. Psychologically mended. Our drama resolved in humanity's embrace. The West's vastness reminded us, horizons are endless, if bridged by understanding. We'd weathered the storm, emerging not broken, but bonded. And in that, the true victory lay.